Throughout the RWBY series, the characters that we know and love have gone through a lot of things, and they've all developed respectively as characters, whether it's been through various traumas that they've experienced or victories that they've had. And none more so, in my opinion, than Jaune, at least in terms of character development. He may not have grown the most in power or had the most traumatic experiences. Granted, Pyrrha did give him the kiss of death, but he, in terms of when we first saw him back in Volume 1 to where we now see him in the end of Volume 5, he has come an extremely long way on a characteristic level. He used to be the shy, or not shy, but, overconfident, or at least trying to boast confidence, trying to get Weiss's attention, and, trying to fit in, trying to make it seem like he belongs there. Because, as we found out in Volume 2, was it Volume 2 or Volume 3? One of the two, that he actually didn't get into that school through regular means. He forged a transcript to get in. So he doesn't have the skill that everyone else has. So he was kind of being overconfident and trying to make it seem like he fit in, as well as trying to play the ladies' man to try to get Weiss. But throughout the course of this series, we see him slowly improve as he becomes a leader of his own team, and that, goes a long way to develop his character, as well as Pyrrha helping to train him. And then, when he finally realizes that, okay, Pyrrha is this amazing person, why am I going after someone who doesn't even want me, aka Weiss? And he's just like, Neptune, you go and be with her, and then he goes and ends up being with Pyrrha, at least for the dance, and then, they get closer and closer, and eventually they, well, we all know how that story plays out. And then, the 6-month time skip happens, and we get to Volume 4, and he's grown through his experiences being out on his own, as I want to say that him and RWBY kind of co-led Team Ranger, and then they got stronger, progressed all the way to where we are now. And the same with Weiss. She's went through a lot of traumatic experiences as well, with, dealing with her family, with dealing with the fall of Beacon, the loss of her friends, having to basically be disowned by her family and escape, and all these things that she's had to go through. And now, at the point in the story that we're at, Weiss has literally been saved by Jaune. Jaune has become her knight in shining armor, because, Weiss is all about the knight thing, because her main summon is a knight, of course, and Jaune is now her knight in shining armor. And based on, all of the other romance and media that's out there, that ends up forming a strong connection between the person who's saved and the savior. And I could see it end up happening now that Jaune and Weiss end up together, because when Weiss did get stabbed, we saw the look on Jaune's face. Granted, everyone was shocked, but Jaune was the first to run over to her and be like, oh my god, what can I do to help? And that actually awakened his semblance. That was the traumatic experience that awakened his semblance. Granted, with his semblance being the amplification of aura, at least as far as we know, for healing. Granted, I'm guessing it could probably be for other purposes as well, because if you could just amplify aura, then he's going to have probably one of the more overpowered semblances in the entire series. But now that he saved her life, Weiss is probably going to take notice of that, and I can see them growing closer and closer, and eventually ending up being together by the end of the series. And also, one thing I want to point out, Neptune's not even made an appearance in the past 2 volumes. Volume 4, Volume 5, he's gone. So Weiss hasn't had, not that, she needs anyone to rely on, because she's, got the summons and everything now. She's probably one of the more powerful characters in the team, minus RWBY and her silver eyes. She can now see Jaune as someone she can depend on. And before, he was just some goofy guy who was trying to hit on her. But now, she sees him as a warrior, as a dependable person, as someone who she can trust, and trust to have her back. And I personally think that they will end up together by the end of the series. Assuming, of course, the series doesn't pull a full Joan of Arc, which, doesn't have the greatest story ending where, well, let's just hope Jaune lives to the end. That's all I'm going to say on that. And I honestly think that they will end up together. I could see it happening quite easily. where we are now in the series. Because we didn't even get to see much of what happened after the end of Haven, because it pretty much just cut off after the battle was over. So at the beginning of Volume 6, we might actually get to see some interaction between Jaune and Weiss, especially since they haven't seen each other for 6-8 months, however long it is. Granted, first we're probably going to see Team RWBY and all of their things, although I'm guessing Nora, Ren, and Jaune will be included in that. But I'm looking forward to see what Volume 6 has. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.